Hi, everybody. Welcome to this month's edition of Civil Engineering Today. I'm your host, Reed Brockman, and today this is actually a show I've been waiting to do for a long time. No ordinary guest. This is somebody that I'm working with every day, and this is a show that I've been dying to have him on. I want to introduce Mr. Vinnie Mercuri, the Deputy Project Manager of our bridge inspections over at AECOM. Hey, Vinnie.
Oh, welcome. Thank you.
So we're going to talk today about how we run projects. So you're not technically an engineer, but working with the engineering crew and helping us perform the exact same work that a regular engineering, and we work sort of as a team.
Not sort of.
Totally as a team.
We are a team. And I'm definitely not an engineer, but I've learned from the best.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
so one thing we're very proud of our team. For those who don't know what we do, I know I'm here every month hosting the TV show, and this is a volunteer effort to do the TV show. We have real jobs, and the real job, I inspect bridges and tunnels and any other structure we're put in front of, sometimes dams, who knows. Yeah. And
power plants.
Right, and it's not just a simple process, and it's something that's got a technical side and it's got an administrative side, and it's very hard to carry everything out. So I want to first bring about what kind of things we run into when we're trying to work out the logistics, especially. It seems to be one of the bigger problems. Where do we start? Like, how do you work out getting a highway when you're working on, you're working, say, on I-95 crossing I-90? Where do you start? How do you do something like that?
Oh, it's easy. We just say, Reed, where do we go?
And you just go out there.
We say, Reed, just because, people that don't know Reed's very modest, but with the structures around, especially around Boston, Reed knows everything.
Well,
he does. He really does. He knows the logistics of everything. I'm there to help out, with the inspections as well, but also with a lot of the day-to-day stuff, the invoicing and all that, that type of stuff. But, really, when to answer Reed's question, the logistics is Reed. Reed knows where everything is. He's got books, because he's been to them before. He has books saying, this is where we go, and this is how we're going to access it, and this is what we're going to do. So it's really...
Yeah, but I can say it, but it doesn't actually just happen. Yeah. I mean, we got a whole process. I mean, how do we actually get things, like, what does it like... Even worse, like dead centered somewhere in the middle, the central artery. Like when we do like the loop ramps north of Boston, and you can there's no way you can get it because it's like 60 feet up in the air. What kind of things do we do? Like,
we have to rent equipment. We have to we have to we have different sub-consultants. We have different equipment. We have to we use bucket trucks, we use snoopers, and we have to rent this equipment and get it out there. And it's not as easy as that. You have to coordinate it. You have to make sure you have the traffic closures, and it's not as easy as it appears. But it's it's something that we do every day, and we know what to do. It's hard to explain, but we just do it.
Right. I mean, let's just take what about the there's all kinds of railroad tracks underneath. There's sometimes water underneath. You got to have a safety boat down there for the water.
Oh yeah, well there's everything. I mean, we need permits for railroad. I mean, we deal with CSX, not as much because things have changed. We deal with Amtrak. We deal with MBTA, and it's a whole coordination. You have to there's permits. There's you have to get checks. You have to get money. You have to get insurance. All this stuff required. And sometimes it's a lot of work just to get to a small area of a bridge. Yeah. It's
so
funny.
What kind of work would it go into? Like, if you had one night of work, how long do you think in advance you'd have to?
Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, in the beginning, it took a long time because we didn't know what we were doing. Or at least I didn't know what I was doing. But it would take. It's a lot of coordination. It takes weeks. It takes months. I mean, especially when we're dealing with outside people. Some of it's out of our control. We do with the as far as permits for like railroad, we have to, like I said, we have to get insurance, and it's specific insurance. We have to get checks because they require money up front. Then there's forms to be filled out, And then there's a waiting process, and part of that waiting process is, I don't know if they forget about us, but we have to constantly be on them. And with all these bridges, Reed, as you know, I mean, they have to be, there's deadlines on the bridges. You know, you have to have a bridge, you know, inspected by a certain time. It's a 2-year process, you know, for most bridges. So, you know, we have to coordinate to make sure we get that permit, and we get the flagmen, you know, usually there's flagmen that are involved, you know, at that certain time before that date. So I mean, it's a process that in the beginning, you know, I think we were pulling our hair out, and sometimes we
Sometimes it wasn't working.
Yeah, well, it's just I think in the beginning you expect it to happen, you know, just, you know, it's instantaneous. If we need someone out there, I could call up the railroad and, you know, get someone out there, but it just doesn't work that way. I mean, it takes time, it takes, you know, effort from not just me, not just you, other people are involved as well. That you know our whole team works together, and we all work to get this process done in a timely fashion, so we can be out there and inspect that bridge or that structure at the time that needs to be done.
Yeah, and in defense, especially when we're talking about the railroads, there's a lot of safety issues involved, especially Amtrak and that Acela line. I mean, that's some serious voltage that could seriously
I mean, safety
turn us to dust if we came close to it. So
I mean, not just with AECOM, but with the railroads and with us as a team, safety is, you know, of the utmost importance. I mean, we have safety meetings before we go out. Even though we do the same structures all the time, we have a safety meeting before each night going out, because when you get too comfortable, you know, that's when accidents happen. So we make sure that we're going through the same motions every time, going through and taking care of safety for us. You know, we go through a list of where's the hospitals, you know, who's there with us, you know, get the confined space areas and forms and stuff like that. We do all that. But as far as the railroad permits, yeah, they have, you know, they don't want us to get hurt on their tracks, right. You know, so they're going to do, you know, all the necessary paperwork, you know, make sure they have the right people out there, make sure we're inspecting at the correct time. And you know, and it's you know, and they're protecting us, really, even though sometimes it's a pain. They're protecting us, which is protecting them.
But sometimes it's like there's so many things you need to get done at the exact same time. So you can't just close off the railroad tracks and have a flagman there watching out for you. The flagman is the guy that's, you know, on the tracks watching out for you, and he doesn't come by himself when there's high power lines. You got like a lineman, a Type A lineman, watching out and make sure the power's, there's no electricity flowing anywhere, especially at the subway, making sure the catenary up overhead isn't gonna, there's nothing happening.
I mean, exactly. I mean, it's nice that the tracks are clear from trains, but if someone's not taking the electricity, you know, on the catenary lines off, you know, I don't want to get zapped by that. You know, and that's why, you know, we rely on the flagmen to help us and the linemen to help us, but we also, I remember when we were out in the tunnels, you know, when they were checking the lines, we wanted to see to make sure that
that was actually
that power,
off.
you know, they check, you know, with a what's it called,
the hanging
thing,
we call it the hanging thing.
Yeah, the light goes off, right?
Right. We definitely don't want to see the light go on, and we'd be standing there going, no, we really want to see it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, I mean, you know, getting back to the safety and the railroads, I mean, all this stuff sometimes to be a pain, but most of the stuff is there with a reason, you know, and it's just, but and getting back to the original thing, it's all coordination, it's time, it's a team effort, and you have to do it in advance. You have to be thinking, you could be working on a completely different structure, and you have to make sure that while you're working on that structure, you're also coordinating for the next assignment, because if you don't get that permit in and you don't get the railroad permits, or, you know, and we're using railroad permits, but there's other things as well. Getting the snooper, making sure that they.
Yeah, actually, nobody probably knows what a snooper is. That's like a weird. What is that thing?
Oh, it's a vehicle that you inspect bridges for. It goes on top of the bridge, and it snoops underneath, so you can inspect. Usually, you know, when you're over water, over something high, it's easy to snoop down underneath the bridge to look at, you know, all the aspects of the bridge, the girders, the deck, and, you know, the bearings, whatever you're at. So
but that brings out its own issues in it, because it's up on top, but you're not up on top.
Yeah.
When you're operating, you're down underneath, and there's usually something happening up above and something down below.
Right.
So you want to have traffic closed up above, but you sometimes have to have railroad tracks closed down below, and you got to swing out of the way to railroad tracks.
And you have to coordinate police details, and you have to put traffic closures out there. Sometimes we have, if we're working on a Mass State contract, I mean, like District 6, which is the Boston contract, they might do it for us, but in other areas they don't. And you have to coordinate all that. You have to coordinate the traffic closures. You have to coordinate the police details that are required. You got
to know what the requirements. The requirements seem to vary depending on, because I mean, there's different traffic patterns.
Reed, are you talking about a recent event?
Never, no, never. But you just got to know. I mean, we aren't always aware that the traffic is so harsh
and that's,
in areas.
I mean, it's just like you have to be on top of everything, and things change. Right now with the tunnel inspections that we're doing, I mean, we're going through a whole different amount of changes, and I mean, not a lot of changes, but the state is changing our forms. So I mean, there's not great changes. It's all what we've done, but we have to make sure. And they've done a couple of different changes. They're right in the middle of it, so we have to keep track to make sure that on our next report that we submit, we're using the correct forms. And it's just not difficult, but it's something that has to be kept. Someone has to keep up with all this. You have. I'm not saying it's easy, but if you just go out and inspect, that's one aspect of our job. But it's the whole coordination. It's the whole being prepared, having everything ready. Because if you don't have everything ready, and you lose a night of work, well, that's a lot of money you lose.
Right.
And that we can't have. It's not just about the money, but it's how about if we're not coordinated right and there's a safety problem, then someone could get hurt.
Right.
And that's knock on wood, we've had a pretty good record. And it's because we're prepared. We take our time, and we don't work a typical 8-hour day. It's not if something has to be done, and especially if it's safety involved, we're going to make sure that we're prepared before we go out there. We're not just going to go out there and wing it. It just doesn't work, and that's when problems happen.
No, it's funny because people like to talk about things being high tech, and it's a high tech world, but the technology, it's always before and after, and it's nothing better than just keeping it simple when you're actually out there. No chance that some gizmo is going to die on you or get broken while you're out there. And you got to be organized because there's 4 million pieces of paper that could be involved if you don't actually figure out what you really need. You want your hands free. We're trying to, we've got two things going on at the same time. We've got the safety inspection happening, where we're trying to keep the public safe. But at the same time, we're trying to keep ourselves safe at the same time.
We all want to go home to our wife and kids, so it's definitely, and like you said, keeping it simple. And, with new technology, we've seen it all. There's a whole bunch of new gadgets. There's iPads that, seem great, and maybe they are great. I really don't know, but something about going out in the fields with a pen and a paper and keeping it simple, and you just, you know what you have to do and you write it down. I guess anything could happen with an iPad. I guess anything could happen with a pen and paper, but it's just pen and paper. But I guess to me, some things, it's okay to just stay the way it was. It works, and it works well. Why change it? Why do something different? If it's not going to really help you.
Right.
Digital cameras have helped us a lot.
Gotta love those.
Yeah, I love digital cameras.
Yeah, and people always are saying, they're free. You can take as many pictures as you want. They don't cost, and you can actually see what you got. Of course, don't go.
Yeah, go crazy.
Don't go crazy. Don't just hold the button down.
Well, because someone back after the person that's inspecting, and sometimes it's the same person, sometimes it's not, has to look at every one of those pictures. And I know pictures are free, but when you take 300 of them, they're not free anymore because someone has to go through
right,
those.
That's 3 hours of time to look at those pictures.
Of the same girder. I was like, all right, yeah, that girder, I've seen that girder before, or I've seen that abutment before, or I've seen, whatever.
But it's true, but you can't always come back. Right. You can't.
No. And you get a feel from it. I mean, Reed, you've been doing this for how many years now?
25.
Yeah, you're getting old, Reed. But you've been doing this. I mean, you have a feel of what needs a picture, or what and that's what makes you. He's the best. He really is. He is. But that's what that makes it great. I feel as a non-engineer going out in the field, I was very intimidated when I first went out there. I'm like, what am I doing out here? You made me feel comfortable. And I'm not trying to pretend to be an engineer. I don't try to do things that you have been trained for. but I feel comfortable, and I recognize things, and I always run them by you. We have a lot of other engineers out there, and it's something I never thought I'd be doing, but I love it. I love coming to work every day, and I love that aspect that, yes, I do the business end of things too, but maybe half the day, 1 week, I'm out in the field as well, and I can see, and I can see what I'm working on. It makes sense to me, because I didn't go to engineering school. I don't know what.
Right. I mean, we want to say that you're totally trained as an inspector. You've taken all the training classes that you can only take. And
I'm not just out there. And I've taken the 2-week courses, and I've been on the job training, and
But there's something really important here. I mean, the way this all started. I mean, you were working. Maybe you want to tell a little bit about it, but you were working on the Greenbush project and the management side of it. Right. Now, I was at the same time doing the bridge inspections already.
Actually,
before
tunnel MBTA tunnel inspections.
Right, and that's where it came up. It all came up on the MBTA tunnel inspections. And the beautiful thing is, like, we were friends before we were really doing the bridge inspection thing together.
Right. Oh yeah, no, and it's funny, to tell the story. I mean, I've been with AECOM for 10 years, and the job I actually was hired for, I've never done. So I was hired to work in the finance area, and which I somewhat do now. I mean, there's things involved, but I ended up going to the airport earlier. Then we had the baggage screening job, and then from there I went to Greenbush, like you just said.
Right. What is Greenbush? Just so that people know, because
Greenbush was the new commuter rail that went from through the South Shore. It went Braintree, Quincy, all the way up to Situate. Greenbush is in the final stop is in Situate, and it was we were program managers. To the MBTA on that project, and we helped them. We worked alongside the MBTA and Cashman, who was it was a design build job, working together to get it done, streamline it, and it worked out well. Actually, it was a great project, and it's successful now. So it was quite an experience. I enjoyed working there. But then while I was there, while it was slowing down, I was asking, what's my next step? Am I going back to that job I originally was hired for 7 years ago or 6 years ago? And I got a phone call from you saying, hey, can you help me out? I need some help, doing inspections. And I said, sure. And 5 years later, it's we were still working together. But it's been great. I couldn't be happier. It wasn't what I ever expected when I was hired at AECOM, but it's that one phone call. I thought I was going to be working a couple of days with you in the Green Line, and all of a sudden it's 5 years later. But it's a very evolved 5 years though. It's not like you just. It was. It's a totally different animal. We've really worked out. Yeah. I just think that we really connected, and. We work well with each other. We both understand each other. And the most important thing is we communicate. We don't always agree on everything.
No, but that's part of the beauty of it. You need someone to tell you when you're being an idiot.
Right.
Like, you really do. I could be doing idiot things all the time. Right. And that's what you...
I don't know about that. Every once in a while.
Every once in a while. Maybe a couple every day.
But, and read that, and that's, you hear it all the time. But the most important thing is the communication. And it's not a 9-to-5 job. If you treat this like a 9-to-5 job, you better get a new job.
Right.
We go from working nights to days and nights, to working weekends, to working, out of state, to working, you don't even know when you're working. It's
no, and then in between, you're trying to work out the logistics for when you're going to be going to work. So you're calling.
I'm on vacation and you're on vacation, and we're still talking about it over the phone. But we enjoy it. We know that in order for it to be successful, it needs to be constant. It needs to be, we have wife and kids that are very important to us, the most important thing, and we don't neglect them. But we're always.
I really hope I don't.
Yeah. But a simple phone call at 7 o'clock at night, after dinner. Hey, are we all set for tomorrow? That's the type of stuff that we always do. Sometimes I don't think we realize we do it, and it's important, and that's what makes us successful.
I think so. I think like we all really enjoy coming to work every day.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
and not only that, we're talking about we didn't really talk about like Greg and Rich and the rest of our crew.
Who?
Yeah, those other guys. So they also, we try to make it a learning experience. And what you add that you really haven't really played up at all, you really keep us in line in our writing. We can't emphasize this more. And like making things make sense.
Right.
We can be, I know that there's stereotypes that we try to fight with an engineer, but sometimes writing skills are an area where we need somebody who is just a logical person, who isn't so deep-rooted into it, making things that when someone picks up something we do, it makes sense. Because we're trying to communicate.
Right.
And there could be an issue that really needs to be taken care of. And we want to make sure that that issue is clear. And you've made worlds of difference in the way you do, just changing from like big paragraphs to like, clear, bam, getting to the point.
Well, maybe that's my my engineer stupidity,
Yeah.
that helps there. But and what Reed is talking about is our end product that when we work and inspect, our end product is a report that we owe to our clients. And the project we're working on right now is Mass DOT. So we have bridge inspection reports that we owe the client. One of my jobs is after the inspection report has been somewhat written off, written completely.
Close to as completed, at least as I think it is.
I review it, and and I've been out on these, whether it's a bridge, I've been out looking at this bridge and helping to inspect it at some point. But then I also will review it and go through it and just, I guess, look at it from a different aspect, and make sure it's, someone that maybe is not an engineer, someone that's not, doesn't know as much as you do, can make sense to them.
Right, exactly.
And that's, and I enjoy doing it.
And I'm glad you do.
Yeah, but it works out great,
I agree, and I'm so happy you do, and I'm so happy. I swear, it's awesome. Working with you is like the greatest thing.
Oh, come on now.
But off of that, we gotta wrap up, and I gotta get on to talking about the outreach stuff that is coming up in the next month. Construction Career Days, we will be bringing in 1,300 kids to Hopkinton, Mass. Anybody that is any form of a professional in science, technology, engineering, or mathematics, if you go to the website engineeryourfuture.org and find my email address and phone number, contact me and get on the list, because we need help putting on hands-on activities and helping with other things. Other than that, I want to give a couple. We have a mini contest we run that was students, not only did they design model bridges online, and there's a contest, there's a dinner on May 9th. For that, we also had a mini contest where they were redesigning the transportation system for New England, and we'll be celebrating them on May 9th. And that'll actually be taken out in the Sheridan Needham, and we'll have the national president of the American Society of Civil Engineers. But next week on Patriots Day with the Boston Marathon at 10 in the morning at the Barking Crab, I'll be taking, I shouldn't say it maybe on TV because we'll get more people than we know what to do with, but we're taking a tour of Boston's bridges, and we'll again be doing that tour on Thursday, 10 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon. And if you go to engineeryourfuture.org and go to presentations and look up Boston bridges, I did a 2-hour presentation at the West End Museum, and thank you everybody who came to that tour last week and that talk. And you can go and see all the old pictures of the bridges, engineeryourfuture.org. And thank you everybody, and I will see you on the next episode of Civil Engineering Today. Thank you. Thank you, Vinnie.
Thank you.